invite for the next panel discussion a beautiful topic called from local fields to global markets, scaling Indian agribusiness. So I invite Sir Ram Kaundinya, the moderator for this panel discussion. And we have Sir Anurag Surana to be part of this discussion. Then we have Markandeya Gorantla, we call him Mark. He creates Mark wherever he goes. And then Rishikant, Moudgal. I am meeting him for the first time, and thanks Rishikant for making up for this beautiful event and adding your value. And hey boss, एक chair just pull. And Khan Saab, wow, lovely. MJ Khan Saab to please come on the stage. चार पांच mics देना, mics. और दे. ऑन करो इसको. माइक को ऑन करो. So I hand over the baton to Ram Kaundinya sir to take this forward.
Thank you very much, Raj. Hello, everyone. We are here to discuss a very important topic, as Raj mentioned, about development of or scaling up of exports, agricultural exports from India, and as he nicely titled it, from local fields to global markets, scaling Indian agribusiness. And we have a very eminent panel here. We have Dr. M.J. Khan here, a well-known person at the policy level, and also he is a multifaceted personality. Then we have Mr. Anurag Surana here, and we have Dr. Markandeya Gorantla, and we have Rishikant Moudgal from Corteva. So without much ado, I would like to get straight into the subject. Basically, agricultural exports, as you all know, is a multifunctional effort. And currently, the agricultural exports are around $50 billion from the country. This is the agricultural produce or output which is being exported. And around 15% of that is value-added product. Balance 85% is raw agricultural produce that is going out, which doesn't bring us the right price from the international markets. So there is a discussion in the government, and government also has set up a target that we must reach a $100 billion export of agricultural produce, and out of that at least 30% should be value-added products. This will actually enhance farmers' incomes, and it will improve the value capture for us from the international markets. But that is on the agricultural produce. We also have other exports which take place, like other inputs which get exported from the country, like agricultural inputs like agrochemicals, crop protection products. We have biological products which go out of the country, and we also have seeds which go out of the country, almost more than 2,000 crores worth of seeds we export, and nutrition products, and all of them put together will add up to another $5 billion or something like that, around that. So we are now talking of almost a $55 billion worth of exports, more or less agriculture-based exports that are taking place, and these things have to be scaled up. So we have actually people here who can talk on different aspects of that. So let me start off with you, Dr. Khan. Okay. As it was mentioned in the inaugural session also, that government has many policies for agriculture, and particularly for improving or scaling up agriculture exports. And there's no better person than Dr. Khan to talk about government policies which are actually aimed at promoting agricultural exports. So even for the information of all the people sitting here, it will be nice if you can talk about what are those critical policies which will actually help the entrepreneurs to increase exports.
Thank you, Kaundinya Sahab. Good morning to all. A small gathering, but comprised of eminent persons. I can see Mr. Goyal here, Dr. Reddy, Sandeepa, Khorakiwala Sahab, Mr. Kondo, and many more, and of course, colleagues on the panel. This is a very important topic, and let me congratulate Raj Agrawal Sahab for nicely putting together the program and agenda. I think three things we need to understand and discuss when we are talking about the exports. One, whether exports are needed for Indian agriculture, and two, whether Indian agriculture is strong enough or there are opportunities for Indian agriculture to increase the exports, and third, if both are positive yes answer, then what needs to be done. Now we all know that Indian agriculture is the second largest in terms of value in the world, about $550 billion out of about $6 trillion of the global agriculture economy, which makes about 8.5% of the world's agriculture by value. But in exports, we are about 2%. In fact, this year we have come down from $53 billion to some $46 billion. So there is a little drop on account of the government policies because the restrictions have been applied, partly because of the global crisis situations, but largely because of the restrictions applied. So we need to catch up 8.5% of the world share in terms of value of agriculture produce and about 2.1% in terms of participation in the global trade. A long way to go. Exports are definitely needed. Like in management, we study that competition improves everything. So the same formula applies. Exports, that improves everything. You need to improve the value chain, you need to improve the supply chain, you need to improve the quality and also the cost competitiveness. So opportunity is big because global trade is around $1.8, $1.9 trillion and India's participation is very low compared to what its capacity is. So our ability to enhance exports, that is massively there. What needs to be done? Long-term consistent policies and a focused approach and little increase in the investment to the EPIDA and related bodies. Unfortunately, that is very low. Last meeting with the finance minister, I particularly had very emphatically requested her that you need to increase the budget for the EPIDA from 80 crores to about 500 crores a year. Now coming to what India's agriculture export opportunities are. Largely we are exporting the rice, which is basmati, non-basmati. Of course, there is some restriction on non-basmati, but put together about $16 billion. Then second largest comes the fisheries and aquaculture, which is about $7-8 billion. And then comes meat, which is about $4.5 billion. And then spices are also close to that. But if we do a study of all these agro-produce, we can definitely come up with a plan, and fortunately, towards the end of 2018, there was first India's agri-export policy launched. Personally, I and organization also quite extensively worked closely with the Commerce Ministry to come out with that, but actions needed on the part of the state government, that is missing. So there is a big gap existing between what global opportunities, what central government would like to do, where industry is operating, and how states, which are guardian of agriculture, they need to prepare and orient themselves to play that role to enhance the presence at the global marketplace. So this is one very important area, Kaundinya Sahab, that states need to be oriented, they need to be prepared, they need to be sensitized, and the capacities need to be created. Second, the organizational infrastructure that is required at the state level, that is also missing. The mandi system that was created for the domestic marketing support to the farmers. Thirdly, we have by orientation at the academic institutions, most of us studied agriculture at the graduation level. We know that our course curriculum was 100% maximized production oriented. Any subject you take out of 42 subjects that we studied, all were related to production. Now the need is to focus on post-production side, where the value addition, marketing, post-harvest management, exports, all these things come into picture. So there is not a single subject at the graduation level where marketing or post-harvest management or trade and exports is taught, which is very, very critical for creating a produce. Those who come out after graduation, they play a role next 35, 40 years, whichever role they are. So their orientation is very, very critical. And lastly, the long-term policies of the Government of India, that is very much required. I think I'll come back in the second round. So thank you very much, Kaundinya sir.
Thank you very much. Very important points. And in that context, I should also say that the 15th Finance Commission had a report submitted by the high-level committee headed by Mr. Sanjeev Puri, chairman of ITC, who identified, they identified 22 different what are called value chains for export development. And what you mentioned, rice and fisheries and aqua, spices, they are all featuring in that. But they have mentioned exactly what you said, that states have to take the lead. There is a cross-section between states and crops, and each state must decide what is its competitiveness in a particular crop, and then focus on developing exports for that crop. I think that's a very important point. So we will come back to you later. I will now go to Mr. Surana, who is an expert in crop protection chemicals. So I would request you to talk about how you see the market developing for crop protection chemicals, the CRAMS market, which is already quite big, and then please give your thoughts on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Ram, for this opportunity. And I'd also take a moment to thank Ray Consulting for organizing this, getting all of us here together. So India as a manufacturing base provides a very compelling offering. Typically, when you look at large multinational customers who are out for strategic sourcing, they do a risk matrix. So they study, what they call as a country risk, a company risk, and then they look at a product risk. So India as a country has a very stable political environment, a very strong and easy to understand legal system, and we have very good educational colleges, technical colleges. The technical education is very widespread. We have a large English-speaking population. So we do make a very good, compelling case. In terms of infrastructure, things need to improve, and they are improving. We also have a lot of universe for manufacturing upstream material like petrochemicals, chloralkali, and so on, which become the base material for any chemical manufacturing to start. Indian companies have shown a lot of prowess to manufacture good quality, low cost agrochemical products in a safe environment. The EHS standards are reasonably good. A lot of manufacturing plants located in India are auditable, approvable, and a lot of companies from overseas come, and in general Indian plants do get approved. Companies have shown very, very good performance on a global level. If you look at generic products, we have companies like UPL, Garda, and so on, who have made a name for themselves. When we look at the CDMO space, Deccan Chemicals, PI Industries, SRF are doing a lot of newly patented or under patent products under the CDMO business model. We have as a country a good reputation of honoring contracts, commitments, and in general a good perception and reputation as a country, and a lot of companies also. Where we need to improve, I hear this term China +1 very, very often. Sometimes, more than often. A lot of people are waiting for China plus one to happen, or waiting for that moment when, European or American customers would come to India. China plus one is not going to happen just by waiting. We need to be proactive. We need to do things to make China plus one happen. The gaps. A couple of gaps which come to my mind immediately, or, things we need to improve before we can become a recognized, powerhouse for supply of agrochemicals. We lack a lot in the midstream chemicals. While I mentioned we have upstream like petrochemical derivatives, chloralkali, stuff like that, we have a lot of capabilities of manufacturing complex molecules, downstream molecules, active ingredients, N-1, etc. But the midstream of chemicals, those 3 steps to about 6, 7 steps of chemistry, that is lacking. And we are still importing a lot of that from China. So, that really does not become a other than China option if the manufacturer is buying their intermediate from China. So we need to, Indian companies, Indian agrochemical companies need to go more upstream. Start from basic petrochemicals and then make the up to the API or AI. Another thing which can happen is there can be new set of companies which specialize in making intermediates. So, I unfortunately know of only a handful of companies which are doing that, but companies like Deepak Nitrite or Epigral, which was Make Money Fine Chemicals earlier, are companies which are making intermediates. So we'll need to see a lot more companies who make intermediates, before we become recognized as a global agrochemical manufacturing source. The scale and size of companies in India, majority of the companies in India, unfortunately, are not that great. When you look at Chinese manufacturing companies, they make agrochemicals which where they have a large percentage of global demand. In India, we can count a very few agrochemical products which would count as a double-digit percentage of the global requirement. So the manufacturing scale is very small. We need to get to more of global scale and size in order to be recognized. Our infrastructure definitely needs to improve, whether it's roads, ports, power supply, and so on. So I think if we work on this is not an insurmountable kind of task. I have no doubt that India can become a recognized source for supply of agrochemicals to the world. Thanks.
Thank you. That's very encouraging. I think it's already quite a big market, but as you rightly said, we have to go upstream. We should get into the midstream products. As long as we're importing midstream products from China, we can't replace China as a potential supplier for global companies. I think that's a very important point. We have to improve our infrastructure. But one thing good you said is that we are good with our cost and our quality. I think both are very encouraging things. So there is enough base for us to actually scale it up from here, provided we make a concentrated effort. Thank you for that. Now I'll go to Dr. Markandeya. So Dr. Markandeya is an entrepreneur and he has developed a unique technology about which you can talk, and then you can also talk about how this technology you are planning to export to other countries.
Yeah, thank you, Ram. So basically, we are a company which were working on crop protection using simmer chemicals. So they modify the behavior of insect. So this is a new space which is growing rapidly globally, and today currently it is just the bottom of a big mountain. So it's $1 billion. So it's projected to grow more than $20 billion. So we as a company specialized in developing these products using a non-renewable method, synthetic biology, to scale up these particular biosimilars. These are called pheromone biosimilars, which actually modify the behavior of insects. So we use them for disrupting mating. It's like insect family planning, yeah. So we use for them for disrupting mating, not to aggregate, using anti-aggregation pheromone to aggregate, for aggregating both the male and female. So these are the fundamental chemicals which are available in nature, which we produce through synthetic biology. So the biology, the uniqueness of the synthetic biology is it doesn't require any source of energy. It's a net zero approach to make any biosimilar. And that has been a big USP for us to scale up the technologies. So we have been part of the US federal programs. You might have heard about insect epidemics like locust. There is no solution. You only have to suppress the population. Under those scenarios, there are several such epidemics globally occurring. So we work with several governments across the world. 1, 2, 3 examples I will take. One is the Slow the Spread program, pink bollworm eradication program. So they do in lakhs of acres. So when insects breed, they breed in millions. The climate change is making them breed many more cycles than what is normal. That's the reason why you see insect resistance happening so quickly and even in the GMOs. So what we do is one classic example of slow the spread program for gypsy moth, which we work with USDA. So we spray pheromone biosimilars like rain droplets. Each rain droplet will behave like an artificial female. So when the population emerges from the soil, all the males will go in one direction, females will go in one direction. So this is one of the largest program which we do along the borders from North Carolina to Minnesota. And we eradicated the pink bollworm in United States by USDA pink bollworm eradication program. And for Saudi, we help for weevils. We help the US National Forest. You might have heard about Californian fires. So these basically are caused by mountain pine beetles. So we have a very unique anti-aggregation hormone which we use them. So the breakthrough which we got in India is synthetic biology and delivery system. So currently these particular products are only 2 or 3 products in the market which sells for more than $200 to $250 per acre. So that technology today we bought it to $10 to $15. And today we have developed the technology which is for the poorest of the poor, where it's under the farmer's buying capacity. So this has transformed the way how the industry looked at it. Today we have 9 multi-billion-dollar companies collaborating with us, registering 100+ products. These are all innovations which have been developed for last 10 years. India never out-licensed, it's always in-licensed. So we are now started out-licensing this new class of molecule for crop protection. More than 100 registrations are taking place in Israel, Europe, China, US, and LATAM. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a very, the kind of modern technology that is required for the environmentally safer agriculture that we want to, pursue. And you are at the cutting edge of that. That's very nice. And hopefully you should be able to generate more export revenues for this, especially to those countries where these technologies are very much in use already. In India, of course, it will take a little more time, but I think it is on the way. So finally, I come to Rishikant Moudgal from Corteva. So we have a complete spectrum here. We have a policy expert, we have an independent person working on development of exports, and then we have an entrepreneur, and now we have a global corporation, Corteva. So what is your thinking that how can technologies, especially in crop protection products, modern technologies, how can they help Indian exports to go up? What are those specific areas where this can actually address the issues?
Thank you, Mr. Ram. As you mentioned, Dr. Khan also mentioned, the intention of the government is to move the exports to 100 billion. Now, taking it to 100 billion will also come up with challenges. One of the major challenges today in front of us in exports is to have residue-free production. Residues and rejections of consignments have been a regular feature since the export started. It originates from two things in my view. One, access to the technology, access to the testing facilities, and knowledge about how to grow or cultivate produce which will be pesticide free or residue free. So I'll take this opportunity to talk about residue free cultivation, which is an important aspect. As the production and export grows, this area will gain more and more focus. For the growers to get residue-free cultivation, the first thing that is important and needs to be followed religiously is the integrated pest management. While IPM is just not a terminology which talks about what to do, but it also talks about how and best way to do agriculture production as well as pest disease protection. So that is one of the important aspects. Second aspect that I see which the growers need to look very, very closely is the choice of pesticide. They need to make sure that they are using the pesticides which has the least pre-harvest intervals. Now there are scenarios in many of these export crops where pests and diseases are occurring pretty late in the season. There are many agricultural pesticides which has higher pre-harvest intervals which they use towards early cycle of the crop, but when it comes to near harvest, these products are difficult to use because they will leave residues. It's important that the choice of pesticide at that point of time should be the ones which have the lowest pre-harvest interval or PHI residues. Another aspect related to this is also use of labeled pesticides. No use of off-label pesticides. Now where I'm coming from about this? This is an important aspect. There is a problem, but the farmer should not go ahead and apply anything that comes or being recommended to him. The major reason for that is organizations like ours, when we introduce a product in the market, we also do a significant consideration on the food chain issues. What the food chain issue means is, if there is a grower in a country which is going to apply this product on his crop, which is exported, we make sure that we are keeping MRLs in the country of import. Now what is MRL? It's the maximum residual limit that is allowable, or the threshold of pesticide residue which is allowable in that country while the consignment is exported. If we use off-label products, then this MRL will not be fixed on that product in that country, which can result into rejection of those consignments. So that is another important aspect. The next important aspect is part of IPM, but it's also cultural practices in terms of crop protection, etc., to break the pest cycle, to avoid such situations. And the last two, one, the post-harvest handling, grading and ensuring that the produce is not contaminated with the pesticide at that point of time. And the last is the use of biological products. We are hearing from the morning some very good presentations that happened. Dr. Markandeya also mentioned about another technology which is very, very useful in this area that can help in having pesticide-free produce. And lastly, the farmers need to also understand, and we need to educate them, that export commodities at harvest, if they have residues and they are kept in storage, the residue doesn't go away anymore. It's put in cold storage, it remains as it is, and when the consignment reaches the port, it will have that contamination. So education is going to be an important factor in this regard to have the pesticide residue-free cultivation.
Thank you. I think very, very important points: integrated pest management, using the right products. Actually, there is also a need to get some of the right products into the country. They may be available outside today, products which are very safe and which are very safe not only to human beings but also to environment and then animals. Then those which don't leave residues, some of those products we may be already having, but some of them we may have to still get from outside. And then cultural practices, labeled pesticides is a big issue in the country. I think education to some extent can overcome that, but also the compulsions of the farmer in buying on credit and some of those aspects are there. But do you see, I'll start with you with my questions. What do you see as the role of contract cultivation in expanding pesticide-free exports?
Contract cultivation can be one route where a proper schedule can be provided. One thing that I missed earlier also, there are export committees where we have consultants which are educating the farmers in those schedules. It's important to follow those schedules very, very critically to avoid the pesticide residues in the produce. So contract farming is a good option but it's important to follow the schedule that comes out with that. If the farmer starts doing things that are not recommended there, will still lead to...
Right, because when you are developing value chains, you will obviously advise the farmers. So the education part that you talked about and the product quality testing thing that you talked about, that will also be done by the contractor, and making sure that the output is according to the requirements of the importer. So I think some of those things we should be able to. But Dr. Khan, I want to ask you that what is the thinking of government on getting some of these products into usage in the country where the pesticide residues will not be a problem? I mean, is there any special effort that you have been involved in discussions on that front?
I think no crisis has happened in the recent days, so unlikely there will be any serious efforts. So government work, we have seen.
Yeah, if there is a crisis, there will be a solution.
Response to crisis. Looking at the possibilities of India gaining its rightful place in the exports market, I believe commodity-focused approach is required. That's what we can learn from the other countries. If we see the worldwide, the exports have been given a big boost by the commodity boards, whether it is California apple or Washington apple or California walnut, or is the US Dairy Association or Australia Wheat Board or Poland Poultry Board or Canola Association of Canada, by whichever names, essentially they are all commodity boards. They look at global market access, whatever in terms of trade and policies required. They also look at improving the quality of the production, supply chain and everything. See, quality of produce has got to be there. Drum beating alone will not help. So states have to play a much bigger role, and that is where the concept of two silver bullets. One, through precision agriculture, the quality has to be significantly improved. Second, through commodity boards, this institution can take care of in entirety everything related to that commodity, from production till the global market access and acceptance. So I believe this dual study, therefore, quality focus and consumer focus. So states have to play a much bigger role, and therefore whether states themselves play full role, or the exporters, or both together in terms of improving the quality, and similarly in terms of making brand India present worldwide. So state export baskets have to be prepared where the products which are immediately exported currently and which have potential to be exported in the future. Because many products which are minor today can become major tomorrow with a focused approach. Thirdly, very important is that 90% plus India is exporting the raw farm. So there is little value addition. So if there is no value addition, there is no value creation, then there is no gain to any of the stakeholders involved in that. Very, very marginally, in fact, just firefighting all the time. So if value-added products are exported, there is an increased value, and that can be, shared among the key stakeholders, including farmers and exporters.
One of the largest agricultural produce exporters in the world is a small country called Netherlands, right? you don't have to be having 170 million hectares of cultivation to be a leader in the global markets. You can produce high value added products and export them if you are highly focused on that. And that's what Netherlands has actually proved. I think we need to look at that aspect quite seriously. Thank you for that. So, Mr. Surana, how do you see that you talked about going upstream? Are there companies working on that aspect? Is there something government has to do to encourage companies to do that? How do we bridge that gap? Because this, I know, is a big aspect in increasing agrochemical exports.
Yeah, that's a very relevant question. Typically, Indian companies have sort of shied away from being in the midstream space because of the intense price competition from China. I see a very small component of that support coming from the government policies of China in terms of cost of power or the subsidies which, get talked about. But, I also feel that technology and scale also has a role to play. A lot of companies I know in China are producing many intermediates where they have a differentiating technology. By using efficient processes, they are able to keep down the cost of goods. So it's very important for Indian companies not to just follow what is being done in other parts of the world or what is published in literature, but come up with unique processes and unique technologies. That certainly is going to help them keep down the cost of goods. The other, as I mentioned, is scale. There is no substitute to that. So till you don't think big, till you don't think global, there is no way you can win this battle. So, to answer the other part of your question, there have been companies. If I give few examples, I also mentioned in my opening remarks, you have, these fluorochemical companies which are doing reasonably well now. They are making these fluorine intermediates, which are very, very key to a lot of agrochemical active ingredients. You also see chlorine companies now. I mentioned Epigral as one of them, which was formerly called Make Money. They are going downstream. They are doing a lot of chlorine base. It's a very good use of chlorine, Otherwise, they need to sell chlorine at a very low, almost like a throwaway price. So if they use chlorine to make value-added chloro derivatives, these are all imported from China. So they've already started doing that, and it is very impressive the scale at which they are doing that. I mentioned Deepak Nitrite, which is doing a lot of phenol-based chemistry, which also becomes key intermediates. So we need more of these examples. There are examples, they have been successful. They have differentiating technologies and processes. They have put up manufacturing on a world-class and world-scale level. They have met with success. So I hope it is going to encourage other companies also to follow these examples.
Thank you. So finally to you, Dr. Gorantla. So you are producing products which are classified as biological origin, or what you mentioned, synthetic biology. So how do you look at the future of exporting biological products from India? How big is that opportunity, and then what should India do to export more and more of biological products?
Yeah, I think the government has taken a very biggest initiative, especially in synthetic biology, biotechnology, where agri-biologicals gets a lot of emphasis. So day before yesterday, Bio E3 has been announced and money has been allocated. Agri-biologicals itself is entrusted with more than 1,000 plus crores, mainly focused on biotechnology intervention for agri-biological scale-up. So these includes peptides, proteins, synthetic biology, secondary metabolites, strain engineering, CRISPR-Cas. So these are the areas where the government of India is focusing. So I'm part of the script for these particular technologies. So these are very, very low volume, high value chemistries. So when I talk about pheromones, so we used to export at 1.5 crore per kilogram. From there to we have bought it down to $1,000, yeah, through synthetic biology. So that's a difference. Today, agrochemicals on an average for crop protection, you need about 1 kilogram. We can bring 1 kilogram chemistry to 5 grams. That is what I'm using. So that's the power of biotechnology. If you integrate biotechnology to scale up agri-biologicals, that will be a big game changer for India to be a global, to address the global supply chain in terms of these particular products. Yeah.
Thank you. So before we close, 2 minutes, any questions from audience? We will take only 2 questions. So if anyone has any question, please. Yes, I'm not surprised. Yeah. The one who has to answer all the questions is asking a question. Yeah. Now that you asked the question, you only answer it. So you have some thoughts on that?
Myself, yeah. So I think if we go for, if we register a microbe, I think now the government, the DBT himself is involving in this particular regulatory classification. So the new microbes, how they need to be registered, I think very clear guidelines will be coming. I don't think we will have any issues for especially export of even the live microbes. Yeah.
One more question, anyone? Okay. So thank you all. I think we had some very good points which came out of this discussion. State's involvement is important, and state must decide what are the crops and what is the competitiveness it must focus upon. And then post-production value addition is very important. Then we have talked about the new, what is it called, Bio E3 policy, which was announced just 3 days back. The biomaterials is going to be an opportunity of trillions of dollars. So it's going to be the biggest thing that is going to happen in the country. Please look at that as a huge opportunity for not only domestic business, but also for export purposes. Then we talked of integrated pest management, choice of pesticides, and also using some kind of a controlled use of pesticides on the crops in terms of the time of usage and the type of products that are being used, and also the need to bring new products into the market which are safer for consumers and which are good for export purposes. Commodity boards, which is something we have, I think recent turmeric board was formed very recently. And tomorrow there is a turmeric conference. That's why I'm actually just leaving for Bombay just now. So there's a turmeric conference tomorrow. So these commodity boards could be very important in export development or in general trade development. Precision agriculture, quality and consumer focus. We are shifting from production-oriented agriculture to demand-driven agriculture. That means we have to understand what the consumer wants, whether it is a domestic consumer or outside consumer. So those are all some of the important things. And I think what Mr. Surana mentioned, that we have to look at improving our infrastructure and then going upstream in our manufacture to be able to take advantage of China Plus. So those are a few things which have come out. Thank you. Thanks to all the panel members who have made great contributions to the discussion. And thanks, Raj. Back to you.
I think it's not me. It's not me, sir. It's all of you who made this happen. And sir, I know your favorite thing. What we have decided for this conference is that we'll be mapping each one of the panel discussions, make as a note, because incidentally our Commissioner of Agriculture, Raghunandan Garu, couldn't make it today. So he was very keen. He said, Raj, why don't you make some notes and then give it to us, where government intervention or policies will help, will see into it. So we'll capture all these things, sir, each one of the panel discussions, and put it as a form of a note so that it goes for the wider publicity also. So that's where. So thank you so much. I think honored. What a powerful people and the panel over here. Thank you, Kansa, for making up all the way. And he too has to rush to Lucknow. Sir has to go. You are leaving. Thank you. I request Juzer sir to please come and do the honors of honoring the speakers here. And he has to leave. I'm so honored. All of you have come just maybe for a few hours here to Hyderabad. So honored.